Well, hello everybody. I'm the Reverend Dr. Larry Macon, the pastor of the Mount Zion Church, president of the United Pastors and Mission in Greater Cleveland. You know, 2020 election will be over with soon, and we will need to figure out what sort of actions might heal the nation after the election, November 3rd, 2020. We need to understand that while our differences are great, we must remember that we are one nation under God, where we all are part of the human family and the nation. That's right, we're family. We are one nation. And so it would be that time where we must return to having an appreciation for family and hopefully for the survival of not only the nation, but also our planet and our children and our future generations. We got to think about it now. You know, like many of you, I have family with brothers and sisters, and there's always at least one or two in the family that you really relate to and can have deep conversations. For me, it's one of my younger brother and the older brother. In other words, we can talk. And so once in a while, my younger brother and I are going to have what we call a lively discussion on almost every topic that is mainstream in America or in the daily news. That's right, it's going to happen. Now, my older brother is a proud veteran and a Vietnam vet who holds more conservative political views than I do. A little different. On one occasion, he reminded me how President Carter, on his first full day in office, January 21st, 1977, pardoned hundreds of thousands of men who had evaded the military draft, fulfilling a campaign promise he had made. Now, my brother wanted me to use that as a reminder to those who would listen carefully to me. As we were talking, we were taking a brotherly ride to Cincinnati to visit another brother, and he wanted me to understand how one right move can change the heartbeat of a nation. He wanted me to inform those that I had around me who would listen to me just for a moment, to understand that that was an example of how a president can heal our country in a time where people are very different. Political parties may think that they need to arm themselves even now after an election to fight for what's right or wrong about the nation. But what my brother reminded me of, it was how one powerful and major act of kindness sometimes softens the soul of a polarized nation. It can disarm those who have opposite views to come on what we call common ground. However, let me be clear on the election on what I think will soften the soul of America both before and after an election. I think we do need a candidate to lead this nation out of this pandemic and other social, economic, political, and moral issues. I do believe a president can reach out to those who feel left out, where ramped up fear need to be replaced with compassion and moral thinking. And so when I asked my brother, how can our country, or how might our country heal itself after an election, regardless of the outcome, he said to me, we need to take off our red and blue jackets and help each other in food, education, incarceration, health, shelter, and overall understanding. And then I asked myself, how do we get beyond the red and blue, the conservative versus liberal and progressive, the Black, Latino, Asian versus white divides, and all the fears, mistrust, and lack of knowing each other? But as some yard signs said that I've seen, they reminded me of what we are. One of the yard signs says, we are here together. So the bottom line question is, how does a next president, or how does the next president, whomever he is, helps us get to a livable wage for the poor, elimination of systemic racism, create a national approach to COVID-19, prevent unwanted pregnancies, create immigration and justice reform, and stop the causes of progressive climate change, and bring an end to the threat of nuclear weapons and war. So I wanted to address you as well and say we must be ready to address the day after the election or even the months that may linger, whomever the possible win of the 46th presidency on November 3rd, 2020. I warn you though, we must be ready for those days of happening. It's going to happen. You see, we must have commitment to those kinds of causes, and even our love to each other must be greater than our challenges, and our compassion must be greater than our differences and our problems. So here's what we must do now and afterwards. We must pray for some more pardons of people who will go homeless because they can't pay their rent or mortgage. People will need an economic break because of the breakout of the disease. Let's pardon them. We need a pardon for those who are being incarcerated or running from the law because they cannot safely surrender for their misdemeanor crime or low-level crime. And even there are those who will need a pardon and a temporary break in the schools. Academic standards need to be shifted for now. A different climate ought to call for a different expectation momentarily. And for many people, Carter's presidential pardon changed the course of their lives. Douglas Brinkley, an author of the biography, The Unfinished Presidency, Jimmy Carter's Journey Beyond the White House, wrote of Carter's action as a defining moment that gave people their lives back. Carter dealt with the anti-war issue by saying, "You are Americans, and we're going to take you back into the fold." Somehow, my friend, we must move forward together regardless of the November election result. We must accept each other back into the fold regardless who wins. Now, let me warn you, it will not be easy. And while the differences are great, we must come to a place and an appreciation for family and hopefully for the survival of our planet and our future generations again. And so I thank my brothers for our changes, for their insights, and the respect we have for each other. Even when we disagree, we are still brothers and family. So must we be able to stand as Americans after this presidential election. We must stand as brothers and sisters and as family. God bless you. God be with you. We're praying.